The choices we make day after day affect our tomorrow. It is cruel that the decisions of a few can destroy the lives of everyone. That is not where the story begins. That is where the story ends. It is a poetic irony that the aspirations of mankind are what brought us here. After all, were our dreams of flying not what prompted the creation of aircraft? Science has always been the tool men have used to conquer their collective dreams. Extreme strength, impossible intellect, and sinful attractiveness could all be purchased in the form of viruses created by the company I worked for. Mankind's one desire that had eluded science was immortality. Men could live long lives, but true immortality escaped us. We chose to pursue this dream, despite the disastrous potential consequences. We called it Project Babel, after the biblical allegory of the men who tried to build a tower into heaven and walk with God. They failed, but we knew we would succeed. Rather than a tower, we would use an engineered retrovirus. Instead of reaching some sky god, humanity would become the living gods of this world. We began this project just as we had with our previous projects, by vaccinating ourselves for each version of the new virus, should something go horribly wrong. I remember the excitement we all had as we received our first group of vagrants from the lab supply company. Soon, we would find many issues with these filthy subjects, or more to the point, the state which they arrived. Many of them would die before we had a chance to use them. Perhaps we should buy from that company that sells juvenile delinquents, I finally said to my facility leader out of frustration. They tell us there is a money-back guarantee, and they are a lot less likely to cough themselves into a dirt nap. He agreed, and soon after we switched to using juveniles, who were in considerably better health. We paid a lot of money for them, but they were worth it. We had to silence them by disabling their vocal cords due to incessant complaining about wanting to go home and other such nonsense. The first test failed miserably. The male and female subjects both shriveled up into horrible human prunes before finally dying in immense pain. I almost felt sorry for them. The subsequent tests gradually improved, but the tests required years of tedious observation. Finally, more than 20 years of experiments, we found it. BAB, AXIB, EL7 was the name given to the virus. For 5 years, the male and female subjects were burned, starved, poisoned, dehydrated, lashed, and otherwise stressed, and seemed to be no worse for the wear. They were far from model subjects, as they needed a harsh push to do the simplest of actions. It was a shame that these two vile, detestable degenerates were the first two practically immortal beings on this earth. Their bodies were unaffected by our final test, a force feeding of pure ricin along with an infection of several drug-resistant diseases, all of which had a mortality rate of at least 97%. Not only did they survive, but they showed no traces of ever having been sick. Additionally, their bodies healed rapidly from wounds, and they didn't seem to age a day after they received their virus inoculation. After being declared a success came the task of killing the subjects. The only way to kill them seemed to be severing their brain stems from their spinal cord. After this, they were sent to the incinerator in triumph. As their bodies burned, we prepared our press releases. "Become a God" was the headline on every direct-to-brain periodical. Droves of people flocked to the research center to get a glimpse of the future. We boasted that our new product would save humankind from all but the most grievous of wounds. We were selling the virus faster than we could produce it. In retrospect, we should have tested it more. A year and a half later, I awoke from my brain shutdown. I had not yet received the virus, but I was working on producing it on a daily basis. As I was preparing for work, my wife awoke. "Good morning," I said to her. She looked at me strangely and began speaking in a weird tongue that seemed to make sense only to her. At first, I was sure she was joking with me, so I played along. Then I received a flash news alert on my direct-to-brain receiver. The anchor spoke gibberish, not the same speak as my wife, but with an equal degree of sincerity. Then Simon from my work called, screaming in a sort of slur. The only thing I could make out was, "The vaccination isn't working, the virus is spreading, affecting speech centers in the brain." After this, he slowly descended into a maniacal pseudo-language. News articles on the direct-to-brain were written in a compilation of unknown languages and strange characters. Everyone was speaking their own strange speak on every channel direct-to-brain news. Some anchors degenerate from speak clear English speak unknown babble.